When you hear the term family business, you probably picture a little local shop, maybe a corner restaurant. But what if I told you that some of the biggest, most iconic brands on the planet are actually family-run empires? Today, we're going to dive deep into this hidden world. We'll look at their massive, and I mean massive, impact on our world and uncover the surprising reason most of these empires are practically built to fail. So let's just jump right in with a quick question for you. Think about Walmart, the retail giant. Then think about Samsung, the tech behemoth. And of course, Ford, the company that basically invented the modern car industry. What's the one thing they all have in common? You guessed it, they were all started by families. And even today, the families have a huge say in how they're run. But here's the real kicker. Their survival makes them incredibly, incredibly rare. They are the exceptions that prove a really brutal rule in the world of family enterprise. And look, this isn't some small niche corner of the economy we're talking about. This is the engine of the global economy. Family-run companies are responsible for a staggering 70 to 90% of the world's entire GDP. Every single year. They employ most of the world's workforce. They are, quite simply, everywhere. But here's the crazy paradox. For how important they are, their survival rate is, well, it's catastrophic. The numbers really don't lie. Only about 30% of family businesses make it to the second generation. From there, it just plummets. Only 12% survive to see the third generation, and a tiny 4% make it to the fourth. That is just an astonishing rate of failure. So what in the world is going on here? This whole phenomenon is so common that people have a name for it: the generational curse. Let's take a look at some really famous examples of fortunes that were built and then just completely vanished. Okay, so take the Vanderbilts. Back in the 1800s, Cornelius Vanderbilt built a railroad empire worth $100 million. That's billions today. They were one of America's richest families, period. But just 6 generations later, the fortune was completely gone. Or how about Stroh's beer? A $700 million empire in the 1980s. 5 generations later, it collapsed. Even the famous Pulitzer media dynasty eventually fell into millions of dollars of debt. The list of these cautionary tales just goes on and on and on. And this isn't some new idea either. There's this old proverb that sums it all up perfectly. Shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. The idea is you start with nothing, build something, and by the time your grandkids are done, it's back to nothing. And it's a universal concept. In Italy, they say from the stables to the stars and back to the stables. In China, it's wealth never survives 3 generations. It's this universal pattern of creation, enjoyment, and then destruction. So the big question is, why? Why does this keep happening? Well, the problem really starts where 2 very, very different worlds collide. The world of family and the world of business. And this collision, it creates a fundamental and often a totally fatal conflict. See, on one side, you've got the family system. Its goals are emotional, things like support and development. The roles are super informal. Support is unconditional, right? You love your kids no matter what. And authority, it's usually based on age or just your spot in the family tree. But then on the other side, you have the business system. Its goals are totally rational: profit, efficiency, growth. Roles are formal, they're written down. Support is absolutely conditional on your performance. And authority comes from your job title. These 2 systems are just in constant opposition to each other. Think about it like this. Family values prioritize things like emotional support, loyalty, and tradition. Business values, they prioritize profit, efficiency, and growth. So what happens when you have to make a tough call? Do you promote your less qualified but super loyal son, or do you hire the highly competent outsider? Do you keep that money-losing tradition alive just because that's how we've always done it, or do you cut it for the sake of efficiency? This is the daily friction that just wears these businesses down. And this conflict often blows up during a company's life cycle. A business starts as an idea, becomes this little infant company, and then boom, it hits the go-go phase, a time of really rapid, exciting growth. But it's right here, during this explosive growth, that a hidden trap often springs shut. It's called the founder's trap. The founder, the one who built everything from scratch, starts to believe that only they, or maybe their family, can really run the business the right way. They become like an absolute monarchy. They can't delegate authority to professional managers. They might hire experts, but then they won't actually let them do their jobs. And this one-person show approach, it just chokes off all the systems and structures the company needs to actually grow up. And often it leads straight to its downfall.
So, okay, if this is the trap that catches so many businesses, how do the survivors, the Fords, the Walmarts, the Samsungs, how do they manage to escape it? Well, it turns out they use a very specific playbook, and it's all built around one core idea.
And that idea is something called family business governance. Now, I know it sounds a little complex, but it's really just about creating a system that separates things. It separates the emotional issues of the family from the rational decisions of the business. It creates clarity where there's normally just total chaos. And they do this using specific tools. You might have a family assembly to talk about family values and the big picture vision. A family council might handle things like, how do we decide which family members get jobs here? Then you have the formal stuff, shareholder meetings and a professional board of directors that are focused purely on the health of the business. The key is that each group has its own turf, which prevents family drama from spilling into a board meeting. Ultimately, the whole goal of governance is to make this profound shift in mindset. You've got to move from being a business that's just run by a family, where emotion and tradition might rule the day, to becoming a professional family business that's run like a business, with systems, with accountability, and with a real focus on performance. You see, the whole spirit of survival is about evolution, not just preservation. I love this quote from the former chairman of SC Johnson. He said, "Each generation has the responsibility of bringing to the business their own vision for the future. To survive, they have to adapt. It's not about blindly preserving what the founder did."
In all of this, it really comes down to one thing: leadership. The kind of person who can navigate this incredibly complex environment isn't just any leader. No, they need a very, very specific set of skills.
So what does that leader look like? Well, there's a really helpful framework called the ACE Man. It's an acronym that breaks down all the essential qualities you need to guide a family business into the future. First up, A is for acceptable. Now, this isn't about being popular. It's about being able to genuinely listen to and accommodate other people's opinions. They have a rhythm. They listen first, then they think, and only then do they decide. A dictator might work for a while, but this approach builds a culture that can actually last. Next, C is for charismatic. And again, this isn't just about being likable. It's about being a visionary, someone who can paint a compelling picture of the future that gets both family members and employees excited. They also kind of have to be a jack of all trades with a deep understanding of the whole business, from finance to operations. And then E is for energetic. This is about way more than just working long hours. It's about having a proactive spirit. A successful leader doesn't just manage the company as it is. They're out there actively hunting for new ideas, and they have that relentless drive to turn those ideas into reality. And finally, we have man. The M is for managing. Can they actually handle the immense weight of major responsibility? The A is for achieving. Do they have a proven track record of success on their own merit, not just because of their last name? And N is for networking. Are they skilled at building and using a powerful network that can open up new doors for the business? Which brings us to our final thought, the deep emotional bonds of family. That's what creates these businesses in the first place. But, as we've seen, those exact same emotions can also be what tears them apart. So it raises a really fascinating question for anyone who's hoping to build something that lasts. Is a legacy ultimately built on love, or is it built on structure? Maybe, just maybe, the real secret is finding that delicate, perfect balance between the two.